You're listening to Carrie Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and today it is 2/23/22. So much of what we talk about on FSN deals with change. It deals with changing your mindset, your ability to recognize opportunities, your ability to get out of your own way, your ability to stop self-sabotaging, to stop doing things that are preventing you from succeeding. Well, person you're about to hear from has put together a system that can really help you do that in a very short period of time, very effectively. In fact, anyone who tries it will succeed. One thing I want to say, having ridden the roller coaster of success and failure many times throughout my life, success often is a lot more about what you don't do than what you actually do. When you get rid of the negative things that are holding you back, and that might be things like surfing the internet when you should be completing tasks, assignments, drifting about aimlessly because you don't have a goal, right? Wasting time, all these things. So success really is a lot more about what you don't do than what you do. Well, Daniel Mangena is here with us now. And Daniel, you've got a book, Money Game, a Wealth Manifestation Guide. We're really excited to have you on here. Hey, you've got an interesting history. I'll let you share it with us. Really, success. So everybody has challenges, right? And it's overcoming those challenges that help you achieve success. Tell us about your challenges.
So, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Carrie. And I just want to just look back to what you said. The roller coaster, everybody's going to have the roller coaster. And I think one of the things that makes a successful person successful is someone who doesn't get emotionally tied up in the roller coaster, but stays really fixed on their end goal, regardless of the journey that they end up taking. And that's a lesson that I learned early on. I actually made and lost 2 multi-million-pound fortunes by the age of 23. I went through a dark time of suicidal ideation. I ended up getting diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 27 years old. All of these things culminating and playing out. And what I learned on that journey is, number one, nothing stays the same, like nothing's one-dimensional. Everything plays on both sides. And number two, unless you are prepared to take responsibility yourself for at least the inciting incident that might start the snowball effect of what we end up creating, it's going to be very challenging for you to be able to then take that same level of agency and apply it to creating something else. You can't deploy agency or power and responsibility to create an outcome that you've given away by blaming people or saying it's not my fault.
All right. So, but of all the people that have an excuse, you're diagnosed with Asperger's. Obviously, you're making and losing money that quickly is intimately tied into that diagnosis, I'm sure, without knowing all the gory details. If anyone has an excuse why you can't succeed, it's you. And yet you take responsibility and ownership. To me, first and foremost, whoever you are, wherever you are in life, you are where you are because of your choices. And until you own your choices and what led you to where you are, you're never really going to be able to get anywhere, are you?
And here's the thing, again, Carrie, I think when sometimes people hear that thing, own your choices, they start talking about the starving children in Africa and, oh, this person didn't have a choice. We're not just talking about conscious choices. As much as 97% of our decision-making is happening at the unconscious level. So a lot of these choices that we're making aren't even necessarily conscious choices, but they are still coming from us. And in that time when we do have conscious choice, we have the space to do something about what's going on with those unconscious choices. This is what my work is all about. So that even those unconscious choices are supporting what we do want to happen. But none of that can happen if we're saying, well, it wasn't me, it was my unconscious mind. Sorry, can't do anything about it. I guess I'm just going to be here being a bum. That's never going to create a change.
Okay. So you shouldn't be hiding behind your race. You shouldn't be hiding around behind your religion or your lack of education, that you got a lousy education in public school. None of this in the end stands in your pathway of success, does it?
No. So here's the thing. There are what I refer to as collective agreements, ideas that are held globally that a lot of people buy into. Right now, we've got a lot of fear going on, for example, right now. This whole, this and that, anti-this or this and that, and all of this division happening, right? And people in all of these camps. And so the reality of those experiences can have an impact. So, someone born in, the backwaters of a village in the middle of the desert, for example, doesn't inherently have the same opportunities as someone who was given all the rites of passage, but they do have the opportunity to do something about it. We're not fixed in place. There are too many opportunities in the world today for you to not be able to make something of yourself, regardless of where you come from. That's not me crapping on people who've been through pain, who've been through dark experiences, who've been through suffering. But so long as we're still tied to the story and identity that comes from that suffering, that comes from those challenges, we're not going to be able to make a change. You spoke about, race, religion, and someone. For that to be the case, then everybody who's your race, everybody who's your sexual orientation, everyone who's your gender identification, everyone who's your religion would also have to be stuck. But if you just do a cursory look, you'll find at least one example of someone who's made it through. And that one example of someone making it through robs you of the excuse that you can't do it too.
Well, so many out there would say, well, that person got a break from someone, or the government did this or that. Hey, so what about the government? Is the government going to save you, Dan?
The government is not going to save you. The government doesn't care about you. And I think that one of the biggest lessons that I ever learned, right? So my suicidal ideation was all really around my belief in my mind of what people were going to be saying about me. I was so caught up on, oh my God, they're going to be saying this, they're going to be saying that. Oh, it's not worth me going on. My identity's gone. I should just not be here anymore. Several years later, I found myself drifting back into that pattern of thought. And my friend stopped me and he said, D, nobody cares about you. This obsession that you have, that everybody's thinking about you, is not happening. And if they are talking about you and thinking about you, they're probably not got anything going on in their life. So you should feel sorry for them, not start letting yourself go down this spiral thinking about you. You go and look at general government. Yes, there are going to be some Congress people or some senators, or in the UK, some MPs that genuinely care about the people that they're there to serve.
Really?
But if you take a general...
I didn't think any of them care, no matter what they say. All they care about is getting elected, right? They don't care. Maybe there's an exception.
If you take a general, though, the general thing is that everybody's out for self-interest. I think it's Adam Smith that said it's not the benevolence of the baker or the butcher that we get our bread and meat, it's from their self-interest. Self-interest doesn't have to be a bad thing, but you having expectations of someone to be interested in you when they've probably got their own self-interest is just stupid. So drop this idea that someone cares about you. Someone may do things that are for your benefit, but most of us are doing something because it benefits us first. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is important for us to own that and and to be realistic against the backdrop of it.
Well, I like the concept here. I'm totally all for accountability. So much of what happens in your life, you got to take ownership of it.
Yeah.
I married the wrong person. All right. The person was deceptive, whatever, bait and switch, but I made the decision. And that's just one example that people blame it on the other. Oh, but that person deceived me. But you know what? I made the decision to be with that person and be deceived. And that's just one example where a lot of people complain. So what do you say to complainers when you're confronted with a complainer?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Goldterra Resource Corp is a gold exploration company that has assembled a highly prospective district-scale land position on the doorstep of the city of Yellowknife in Canada's Northwest Territories. Goldterra is currently focused on expanding and delineating gold resources at the company's Yellowknife City Gold Project, with a goal of discovering over 5 million ounces. With ready access to infrastructure and multiple high-grade gold discoveries, Goldterra is on track to re-establishing Yellowknife as one of the premier gold mining districts in Canada. Goldterra trades as YGT in Toronto and YGTFF on the OTC. For more information, go to goldterracorp.com. That's goldterracorp.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network, the information you need to thrive now more than ever.
I mean, let's just use that example. Okay, I made a bad decision. Guess what? Everybody makes bad decisions. Nobody has got a perfect track record in decisions. But the power is in looking at that, owning, okay, I fudged up there, not the best decision. What can I learn from it so that I can actually improve on my decision making going forward? Okay, this person deceived me. What parts of my personality were attracted to the parts of that person's personality? Or what was it about that person? Or what is it about me? How can I develop my skills of discernment so that I'm not deceived in future? What gift can I pull from this? And then guess what? Your emotional relationship to that person can move from blame to gratitude. Gratitude doesn't mean that you're happy that someone slapped you in the face or sexually abused you or was verbally abusive or violent to you. However, you can be grateful for the opportunity to learn a lesson, to not have this show up again. And here's a great thing. When we learn a lesson in one area, we can apply it to all areas of our life. How we make decisions in our romantic relationships may impact us making better decisions in our business relationships, in our friendships, in our relationship to ourselves. But it really comes down to how we take that experience, what we do with it, and whether we claim responsibility, which gives us the power to do something different in the future.
Yeah, it's so true. So what are we to do here? Like, how do we get out of our own way? Because my belief is you're only limited by your beliefs. There's no other limitations on your life. Yes, if you're quadriplegic, you're not going to be running a marathon. Okay. If, if you're blind, you're not going to be seeing the sunrise and the sunset. But once you get past physical constraints, what are the constraints? I assume part of your system is identifying your constraints and then releasing them, right?
A part of it, yes. And just to your point about, you're quadriplegic, you're not going to run the marathon. If you've got two legs, you might not run a marathon. So
true.
Right? You may have eyesight and not actually appreciate the sunset, the sunrise or the sunset. So instead of judging by what we don't have, let's look at what we do have. I don't believe that, I use the word God. Everyone's got their own words for the thing, whatever the thing is. But I don't believe that God puts anyone here without them having a role to play in everything. I don't believe that we're put here without a thread that we have in the tapestry of the universe. I don't believe we're here without having a note to play in the symphony of the universe. I don't believe that. So your calling may not be here to run a marathon. Maybe you're here to inspire people so that they run marathons. Maybe you've got a mental marathon that you're here to run. You may not see the sunrise or the sunset, but you may have an ear that can hear something that nobody else can hear. So instead of looking at our limitation, that I had the mindset to say, okay, well, what are my gifts? What are my superpowers? And those superpowers will allow me to do the work that I do in the world today. Do I have some shortfalls? Yes, but that's where I get to be supported. That's where I get help. That's where I get to team up and partner with people. But I have gifts that I can share. We all have something to share.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. So your book, just tell us the process you underwent to write it, because you wanted to get everything down that you'd obviously been doing yourself for many years.
So I went through about 5 or 6 different drafts of 7 Beyond Detention over the course of about 11 years. There was one time I thought it was ready. I put it on the bookshelf. I took it down a day later because I was scared. I didn't want to share it as it was. It's really quite a personal journey. Yeah, seriously, I took it down. But it was really a personal journey of just sharing my stories and sharing the power of responsibility and how it can be deployed in our life. The power of seeing the vision of something and developing certainty for it. The power of having compassion for ourselves and not trying to hold ourselves to the standard of perfection every day. And it's been my own personal journey. This most recent draft has got a lot of stories of people that I've worked with and them applying this work, because it's all very well and good if it works for me, but does it work for other people too? And we've been able to show and demonstrate that that's the case also.
All right. So I assume the book is available at Amazon and wherever fine books
Amazon
used to be sold, right?
Yeah, used to be sold. What we've actually done as well, Kerry, we've actually done a page of resources for the listeners. We popped on there an audio program that I created around this for people that aren't necessarily readers. We'll give them access to that for free, and links to the books and other bits and pieces. It's just dreamwithdan.com/FSN, dreamwithdan.com/FSN, and some free resources for them to be able to go and check that stuff out.
All right, excellent. And there's a link to that in the show notes in this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Dan, been a pleasure. I'm going to get your book.
You.
And is it in audio form, by the way?
We have an audio form from an older edition. I'm this summer, I'm going to be recording the latest edition. So you can get it in audiobook for the last edition, but the most updated edition I've got to go ahead and record.
All right, excellent. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. We're buying your book now as we speak.
Thank you.
From Amazon. Appreciate your coming on, really do. Hey, people want to find out more about you, connect with you on the web. You got a podcast, you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I got YouTube. Not as active on YouTube, but the podcast will put out a couple of episodes a week on that. We'll make sure, what I do is I make sure the guys pop a link to the podcast on that membership page so they can just go to one place and get all those resources.
Excellent. All right. Hey, if you got a question for Dan, you can always shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll get you an answer. I'm going to write a review of your book. Maybe I'll even do an episode of the podcast on it once I'm done. It sounds
thank you.
like a great
Appreciate
book.
that.
Really appreciate you coming on. And don't forget, go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Get a free newsletter subscription. Dan, we'll talk to you again after the book, after I've read it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.